Craig Pauling, it's nice to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Tēnā koe, Chris. Kia ora.
I feel like this is almost the exit interview, if you like. So I suppose the first question is, why have you decided to stand down from Environment Canterbury? Because by all accounts, you're quite well liked.
Oh, that's good to hear. Hey, look, I've just got a few things I really want to move on with in my life. I actually am keen to do some mahi, some work that I used to do in the environment space, so advising and consulting. So I'm actually keen to help out there. I think there's a role for me in that space. So that's been my main focus at the moment, just trying to get a job, actually.
Well, this is interesting because how is central government's actions, or has central government's actions, and I suppose the uncertainty surrounding the future of Environment Canterbury, has that affected your decision or influenced your decision?
Yeah, not really, Chris. I mean, the overreach into a number of areas into local government has been a bit frustrating, but it's definitely not the reason why I am stepping down. I've just got things that I really want to get on with and move on to. So that's the overriding reason. But yeah, like I can't lie that some of the overreach has been a bit tough. So it does make you think, well, is that a space to get into? So.
Let's briefly discuss that overreach, and also I suppose that overreach comes with uncertainty, doesn't it? The inability to be able to make clear decisions right now because you don't know what policy or management changes are going to come with the current government and what they're up to. Is that a fair kind of comment?
Yeah, like, I mean, some of them haven't affected us directly, but they are frustrating nonetheless, like Māori wards, that sort of space. That's sort of one example of overreach. Obviously, we've got our Ngāi Representation Act, and we were asked to repeal that. We politely said we're good, thanks. Once we took that to council and got that support from our council reconfirmed. So that's an example where we've made that decision locally, democratically. We've made that amongst our council here. So I think that should remain. I think that's a good principle. But yeah,
are they still trying to get? Sorry, Andrew. Are they still trying to get rid of those Māori representation, despite the fact every councillor within Ecan voted for them to stay?
Yeah, well, they did know that was what they asked us to do earlier in the year, but we put that to council and we got that confirmation where the majority, there was one councillor that did vote against it, but 15 out of 16 is not bad, I'd suggest. So yeah, it was good to get that confirmation and to know that there's support at our table for our local elected members to support the Ngāi representation going forward, so that's great. Yeah, but like in terms of how the uncertainty is definitely tough at the moment for councillors, but also probably our staff, I'd imagine. I think that is a real tough one if you're working in the regional council sector and you're hearing ministers, prime ministers sort of dropping the regional council bomb around the place. I don't think that's helpful, especially when there's no real plan and no real analysis that's been done. And that's sort of what the space that our councils tried to fill, to be honest. And remember, before those bombs were dropped around the place, we had started our process well in advance of this, because when Dion and I were elected as the chair and deputy late last year, we sat down with each of our councillors and we asked them what was the top things they wanted to deal with in their last year as being a councillor in this current term. And out of that, we did a bit of analysis ourselves. Dion's pretty good at that. And we took that to our CE and our key advisors, and we sat down and we realised that this resource management local government space and the reforms that are going on was really the most critical issue for our council. So we took that back to our council, and this was like early in the year, March, April, and they agreed. So we organised to get some external facilitators to help us work through that issue. We had 2 workshops with them, and then we took 2 more workshops to our councillors based on that feedback around structure of local government, the future and structure of local government. It also resulted in our position statements that we put out around the RM reforms. And so we've now filled that void with four possible options for the structure of local and regional government that no one else is talking about. And we've shared that with everybody, including the media, including ministers, other elected members, mayors, runanga, and we're trying to open up that discussion so that there's at least some analysis going on around what is the best for our communities and for our environment going forward, because that's the real issue that we should be focused on, not just because someone thinks it should be changed for some reason that they won't tell us about, other than, the rates that we spend too much money. But I think that's ridiculous, because if you look at the real facts around rates versus tax over the last 100 years, and I don't know if you've seen these figures, but rates have stayed as a percentage of GDP at around, I think it's 3 or 4% over the last 100 years, whereas taxes have gone from just under 10 to about 30% of GDP over the same period. So you could ask, well, who is spending all the money? And local councils have done a pretty good job of keeping that low because, and why is that? Because we're closer to our communities. We go through more stricter um, engagement processes and transparency. We have to do an annual plan every year, and we have to consult with that on the community. We have to ask them what they think about that. So government doesn't do that. They just put their budget out and do it.
So make sweeping statements in the media. Tell me, are you in a position to pick up the phone and ask the local government minister, hey, can you give me a steer on what's going on? I want to know where the staff at Ecan want to know what's happening, and frankly, so do I. Can you do that? Have you done that?
Yes, I have. I've written to Minister Bishop, he's not the Minister of Local Government, but he is the Minister in charge of the RM reforms, the resource management reforms now. And at the local government conference in Christchurch here, we had both Simon Watts and him on stage presenting to us about where their thinking's at, which was good. And I followed up that discussion with a letter asking, sharing with him the details of the work we've done at council about the 4 different scenarios, possible scenarios for local government. And asked him if he would like to meet. And he was keen, but he's since written back to me and said that he hasn't got time to meet at the moment. So I'm just going to write back to him in the next couple of weeks, just with some considerations that he'll hopefully think about as he makes whatever decisions they're going to make.
So Craig, as it stands,
yep.
You have. So as it stands right now, nobody knows what the role of Environment Canterbury will be in the next, 4 months or so. I mean, it could, under the current coalition, it could dramatically change. The structure could change.
Yeah. The main thing that we've heard, obviously, the only thing that's been talked about is unitary authorities. Obviously, the Mayor of Christchurch, Phil, has said that a few times. CCC actually put that in a submission a year or so ago to government. But it's unfortunate because we haven't actually talked about it, and that's a bit of an issue, but we're trying. And so that's the only option that some ministers have talked about, because that's the only thing that's currently possible under the Local Government Act. You can only have unitaries or regions and district and city councils. What we're saying is maybe there's another option here, or maybe there's a few other options. If we are going to reform local government, can you give us some autonomy to come up with what those other models could look like? If a region can agree that there's another model, such as the ones we're putting forward, well, surely we should be able to pursue that under the Local Government Act and put that to a minister for approval. So that's the sort of thing we'd like to do, but obviously you need to do a lot of analysis to make that happen, and a lot of agreement. But that should be a possibility, whereas currently it's not under the Local Government Act. You can only have unitary or regions and districts, and that's a bit arbitrary, especially when unitaries, when we've looked at them in our workshops, they seem to be a bit problematic for Canterbury. They could work in other places, and they currently do. Gisborne, Tasman, Nelson, Marlborough, they have unitary authorities. But in Canterbury, because of our geographic shape in a way and our concentration of a lot of people just in Christchurch City, it makes it quite difficult to have a unitary authority from my perspective and from when we've looked at it as a council. So it raises more questions than it answers, and I think that's what the work we actually need to do before a sort of arbitrary decision's made.
If a decision is made on the future of Environment Canterbury, though, Environment Canterbury will still exist in some form, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think this is really important, and what we've been trying to get across to the public and to ministers is the functions that Environment Canterbury currently do, and not everyone knows them, but obviously we do run the public transport services. We do look after all the flood and natural hazard work on all of our major rivers, Rangitata, Rakaia, Waimakariri, Huranui, name them. They'll have flood protection works on them. Someone's got to continue to do that. We obviously do the harbour master role, as well as the planning and consenting for natural resources, water, air, etc. So there's a big job to be done. Now, someone's still got to do that. So regardless of what the government's going to do, those functions will still have to be carried out by someone. And what I noticed in their most recent bill on the improvements bill for local government, they didn't list those things, all of those things. So that's a bit unfortunate that they didn't list those things in their the 5 things that local government should focus on, because, yeah, they have to be done by somebody. And so who's that going to be? But like what we're saying is we're open to that change. The whole regional sector, we've got Te Uru Kahika, which is the regional sector across New Zealand. All the regional councils get together, and we're open to the change because we do think that it's not right either. It's not completely the perfect model. So we'd love to have the conversation with government and to do it with them. And I think that's just something that we're hoping will happen. But at the moment, we're not getting that engagement.
So does it feel like the government's making changes whether you're there or not? The ship continues to sail whether staff have input or not?
Well, yeah, well, it does feel a little bit like that. But yeah, we've tried to open up that space. I understand they're obviously got lots on. So I understand if they're busy, but we have obviously reached the hand out and said, come on, let's do this together. But hey, I don't know why that's not happening, Chris.
Craig, just briefly, what's the deal with the Greater Christchurch Partnership? I saw there was so many reviews and reports. People love reports, don't they? An independent review, which always means predetermined, but that's my snipiness coming through there. An independent review found the partnership had lost political confidence. I mean, political confidence from who? I suppose the government? Or I mean, what did you make of that report?
I think that was more internal. I mean, obviously, any partnership
Right.
approach is it's not easy because you have lots of different voices around the table. You've got 4 different local authorities at that table, plus Ngāi Tahu, plus Waka Kotahi, Land Transport New Zealand. So, there's lots of voices. It's not always easy. Like anyone who's got a big family knows this. It's not always that at Christmas time.
When you said partnership, I thought, well, hang on, are you talking about relationships here? Or?
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, that's what it is. It is a relationship.
Yeah, it is.
You've got
Yeah.
to manage it. So, and of course, over time, and what the report showed is that we were really good post-earthquake. We did a lot of awesome work. When we're focused, and recently we did the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan and the massive engagement process that led to that work. Well, we did that successfully. That's what the review said. But then when you've finished a piece of work like that, it's the gaps in between. And it's always having that rolling work program. And I think that's what the review reflected on is there ways we can be more focused and make sure that keeps going. And the good thing about what the review said is the review none of the 4 options that the review came up with was about ending it. That was a really good outcome. And of course, around the table, the speeches around the table acknowledged that. What it really said is you need to be better. You need to continue to look to be better. And of course, it's also in this context of this local government and resource management reform, because resource management for local authorities is massive. It's a massive part of both district and city councils and regional councils' role. So if that's going to be changed, then it does make you have to sit up and think about how the whole thing's going to work. And that's why, again, the work that we've done at Environment Canterbury around the future structures is really important, because there may be some solutions in there for how the greater partnership could be structured going forward. But that's all going to be discovered next term now, because it is so close to an election. It was decided that there needs to be a workshop straight up in the new term with the new elected members to figure out what is the best way forward. So it's tough that we couldn't have got on with it, but it is so close to the end of the term that it is hard to just go, yeah, we're going to make this massive change right now, and then you have a whole bunch of new elected members potentially in the new term, and then they don't like that. That would be not a wise move. So I think it was wise to listen to the feedback from the review, note that it's not about breaking up, it is about being better, and then deciding on how to be better in the next term. Even though it might be frustrating for some that it takes a long time, but good things do take time. And they shouldn't take forever, but I think the track record has shown that we have been able to do some things really successfully when we've been focused. And that's the key. Focused on what is the outcome we're driving towards, get on the same page, make it happen. And the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan is an amazing document that was really well engaged within the community and is leading to, it relates to housing development, housing growth, as well as public transport systems going forward for the next 50 years, looking for Christchurch to be at 1 million people in time. So that's really good work that we've done together, and it does lead into the current signals from government around spatial planning, because that's what they're going to support going forward. And so we've already sort of done it, and so we're ahead of the game, and I think that needs to be acknowledged.
Oh, when you say population of Christchurch $1 million, it put a chill down my spine. We'll have to keep the Aucklanders away, Craig.
Well, it's
Just
actually
for,
happening, isn't it, Chris? They're already coming.
I
That's what
know,
the
I
that's what the
know,
latest stats are
I've,
saying.
I know. I've got to stop promoting Christchurch as a good place to be. Have to
Well, I
put
did
another
say
rant.
this at the local government conference. We must be doing something, right? We've got the current national secondary school basketball and rugby league champions here, as well
Mhm.
as, hey, we know about the Crusaders and stuff. So, hey, come on, people, we're not that bad.
No, we're doing all right. Hey, just finally, let's do the rumour mill thing. When you're announcing your candidacy for the Green Party next year.
Look, that's not my focus at the moment, Chris. I really am focused on finishing the rest of this term with Environment Canterbury. I've still got 6 or so weeks left, so I'm really keen to, especially on this local government and resource management reform. And then obviously my focus is to get a job, because I won't have an income on October the 11th or whatever it is. So that is my focus at the moment. I'm not going to rule that out. That is something that I am interested in. And I obviously want to see if I could play a role and be contributing at that thing. Like you said, looks like people don't think I'm that bad. So I am keen to contribute to our country. I mean, I care about especially Canterbury and Ōtautahi. They're my home, and I want to see us make good decisions into the future. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm thinking about.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Kia ora, Chris. Have a good rest of your day. Ngā mihi.